Hey there.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
Oh, another
Another episode
of
behind
Behind
the
the
scenes
Scenes with
Santa
Santa
and
and
Mrs.
Mrs.
Claus.
Claus. Oh, and I'll tell you what, this time we're really going to delve into Santa Claus. And I'm going to let Mrs. Claus give you the intro on this.
Yes, we had one of our followers asked us if we would talk about the origin of St. Nicholas and Santa Claus. And that's what we're going to do because there really is a person behind the Santa Claus. And so this is going to be a little bit of a history lesson and some other things thrown in. And we're going to actually do a series on this. We thought the timing was right. So those of you that would like to know how did that big jolly fat fella come about? So anyway, and Santa actually is the one that has done a lot of research on this, and actually he did.
Well, he's my ancestor
Yes,
after all,
yes.
you know.
And he really did it a lot for the book that he wrote, the Faces of Krampus. So
And also Believe Again.
Believe
Yeah.
Again, yes. So he's going to be actually the one that's going to give you more of the historical aspects of Saint Nicholas. So having said that,
And you know, as Mrs. Claus here said, Saint Nicholas was a genuine person. He was a
hmm
real person, and he was actually a bishop in a country or an area called Myra, which was at the time in Asia Minor. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the geographical reference, that's now actually what is considered southwestern Turkey.
hmm
And so, and Nicholas was born to a very wealthy family, and unfortunately, his parents died of an epidemic at a very young age. But he was raised as a Christian.
hmm
This was at a time when Christianity wasn't legal in Asia Minor and a lot of other countries. And it's kind of interesting. I mean, the Apostle Paul went through there. The writer of the Bible, Luke, went through there. Um, and they kind of started to change and introduce Christianity into the area.
hmm
So actually, Nicholas was raised as a Christian before it was fashionable. But anyway, after he lost his parents, he was adopted by a priest and raised and continued in the Catholic Church. And his parents, as I mentioned, were wealthy merchants. And he wound up before he himself, Nicholas, joined the priesthood. He gave away all the money he had from his parents'
hmm.
you know, inheritance. So, and helped a lot of people that were having real difficulties in their lives. So he started at a very young age helping others and just kind of continued that
hmm
and always watched out after others. Um, when the Bishop of Myra passed away, they actually held a council, a conclave, and one of the bishops received a dream that said, from an angel, that said, you're going to have somebody come through the doors of your conclave, and the first person that comes through the doors and is named Nicholas is your Bishop of Myra. And so Nicholas just happened to wander in, and they asked him, they said, what is your name? And he said, my name is Nicholas. And they literally immediately took him and put him on the bishop's seat, and he became the Bishop of Myra.
Yeah, yeah.
So he was one of the earliest bishops in Christianity, especially in that area. But anyway, um, not to get too far afield, but there's going to be so many things about Nicholas that are so interesting, including what is he a patron saint of? Like, for instance, everybody knows he's the patron saint of children,
Yes.
and he's the patron saint of sailors
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
unmarried women,
Mm-hmm.
but he's also the patron saint of prisoners and those that were wrongly condemned. And no kidding, more than 100 other categories he's patron saint for, which is why there are more churches with his name on them across the world than any other saint and several combined. I mean, there are St. Nicholas churches everywhere. Um, well, people might be curious to know when he was born. He was actually born on March 15th, 2000, or excuse me, 270 CE or AD, if you prefer. So he was like in the 3rd century.
Yeah, after Christ.
After Christ that he was
Mm-hmm.
born. And he died, he passed away on December 6th, which is a key date I'll
Yes.
explain in a minute, in 343 AD. And he and St. Patrick lived at the same time. St. Patrick in Ireland and St. Nicholas in Myra. But anyway, and that December 6th is now what is called the feast day of St. Nicholas,
Yes.
and that's when they celebrate
And to
his
this
life
day.
to this day.
Yes. Yes.
And he continues to be a very important gift giver on that day, and we'll get into the St. Nicholas feast later on.
Mhm.
That's a fun thing to talk about. But anyway, he was a very, very important figure in Christianity at
Yes.
the time.
He really was. Yeah.
Not only did he help so many people,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of things that are tied to him today that people, celebrate, such as things like hanging your stocking. There's a story behind that of sailors being saved by him,
Yes.
of fishermen, just again, some of the things that Christ did himself also can be attributed to St. Nicholas 300 years later. So there's just a whole lot of fun things to talk about, and we will delve into each one.
Yes.
He was also part of the Council of Nicaea.
Which is from a religious standpoint is very, very important. And why don't
Mhm.
you describe what that was and what came out of that very, very important council?
Well, as I mentioned, this was the early roots of Christianity, and the Council of Nicaea took place in 325, and it was during Constantine's reign when they finally. I mean, Nicholas
King
and
Constantine, wasn't it?
Emperor.
Or emperor, sorry. But I knew he was a ruler for those
Oh yeah,
those that didn't know.
big boss.
Yeah, for those that didn't know, he was a ruler, yes.
And before Constantine, Nicholas was also imprisoned and taken and thrown in by oh God, what's his name? I can't remember. Diocletian, at the time, who was the emperor, and once he died, then Constantine took over and Nicholas was finally released, but he was in prison for a lot of years. And immediately out of prison, he went to Nicaea, and Constantine had told them, let's get this religion kind of tucked under,
Mm-hmm.
and let's come up with a canon of law, and let's, figure out when is Easter, when is Christmas, when is, some of these feasts that take place.
Yes, yeah.
And try to put into more common terms that everybody could follow the roots of Christianity.
And uniformity.
And uniformity was a
Mhm.
major part of that, yeah. And Nicholas took place in
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
So, which has also got a good story to it that I'm going to save for you. But anyway, this took place in 325 AD. And once he was done with that, he returned to Myra and continued his, bishop status there. Um, Boy, there is so much to talk about, and I don't want to skip all over the place. But anyway, um,
Well, I think that kind of lays a little bit of the groundwork of what honestly an important figure Saint Nicholas was, and that as Joe said, he, yeah, obviously was a real man. He existed, and as so often is the case, the traditions that we have today harken back to the past, and in his case, it was he was the saint in the in Catholic religion in the early days. So, but just an amazing man, an amazing life that he led, and obviously he was giving to others, and in many cases, not just children, but he looked out for so many people that crossed his path, and we'll learn a little bit more about that.
yeah, we're gonna kind of delve into a lot of different things. I
Mhm.
mean, we'll talk about some of the legends and some of
Mhm.
the miracles that Nicholas did, and he did a lot of miracles. Actually, he's credited for a lot of different miracles in his life. Uh, Again, I mentioned him being the patron saint of sailors. He also got on a boat, and during a major storm that looked like it was going to upend the boat, he started praying, and the winds died, the sea calmed, and
Quieted the storm.
quieted the storm. And
Yeah.
that's how he became a patron saint for sailors. And there's a whole bunch of things, and this is why he's got so many classifications. He did so many things for so many people that every time he did something, they said, Nicholas is our patron saint. So, and again, we'll get into some of those. And again, the most fun one is the stocking thing, which I'm going to save for you guys. But anyway, we wanted to kind of introduce this as what we're going to be doing. And this is going to be a while.
Yeah, this is going to be a series because obviously he did a lot, and we want to tie it to who then became known as the Santa Claus of modern day. We're going to try and keep these kind of short.
Yeah.
So that you'll be able to tune in and listen. And of course, we thank you all for.
Well, and
listening
a lot of people would like to know
Yes,
how
absolutely.
Saint Nicholas or Santa Claus, who was in Turkey, got famous and moved through all of Europe and all of America, and
Mhm.
now going into Asia, etc., etc.
Mhm.
And I'll even explain some of that because
Yes.
with a little bit of our own history thrown in
Yeah.
there. So if you're interested in learning more, please stay with us.
Yes.
And by all means, subscribe to our channel.
Yes, and as you know, we do it twice a month on the 10th and the 24th.
Yep.
And one of the things we're going to ask you to help us out is to watch, of course, our videos, but watch them to the end.
Oh, please.
Because
yeah.
if you can do that, then we can. YouTube pays attention to that. That's kind of the next thing that we're trying to
The
get.
next benchmark we're trying to hit.
for YouTube.
Yeah.
So if you can watch them to the end, then we can do more things with YouTube, which is pretty exciting.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we'll make a deal. We'll keep them shorter.
Yes.
And you watch them to the end, okay? We got a deal? Okay, good. But anyway, so we hope you're going to enjoy this series.
I think you will, because it's a very, very interesting story And then you certainly won't be bored because he
And
was
and ver-
fascinating.
yeah,
Man,
and very
fascinating.
very few people understand
Yes, really.
where a lot of our legends came from,
Yes,
and a lot of what Saint Nicholas did do, and who he was with at the time. You know, I mentioned Saint Patrick, but believe me, we're going to tie in all kinds of some
yes.
biblical figures that you might be surprised kind of cross the path with Saint Nicholas.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
anyway, so stay
Stay
informed
tuned.
and stay tuned. Yes, by
Yes.
all means. And we'll look forward to bringing you the next chapter, which will really start to delve into some of the legends
Yes,
and
the
some
more
of
particulars.
some of the miracles that
Yes.
he performed, which you'll find fascinating.
Yes.
So,
So,
thank you so much for joining us again, and we love you all, and hope
we'll
you
talk
have
to
a
you
great
soon
month.
again.
Okay, bye
Bye
bye.
bye.